Hey everybody, in this video I'm discussing the new moon in Scorpio on November the 1st, 2024. The new moon is in Scorpio. Every 4 weeks we have a new moon. The new moon, where it falls in your horoscope, is where your attention and priorities are more directed. But in general, Scorpio is when a new moon's in Scorpio, it could bring a lot of attention to things that have been hidden, secretive. It's about a lot of letting go, because Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, and in mythology, Pluto's the lord of the underworld, the great mysteries of life and secrets, but death and rebirth. That's why Scorpio is the sign of profound transformation. And so the focus for the next 4 weeks is also encouraging deep introspection, releasing old patterns, all this deep change. Now, 5 days later, November the 5th, is the U.S. presidential election. And so many of the commentators on U.S. television are claiming that this could be the most consequential election in U.S. history. As an astrologer, I was excited to see, will this even show up in the new moon chart? Or is it just going to be another ordinary random chart that as an astrologer you're looking to force the issue? But nope, this new moon on November the 1st shows a very rare configuration called a kite, which brings a lot of auspicious positive change, but with a lot of conflict. But we'll get into that later. Now, before I talk about the United States, let's talk about how this new moon in Scorpio is impacting the world. Now, Scorpio, well, first of all, this new moon in Scorpio is at 9 degrees of Scorpio. There's 30 degrees in a sign. That just tells us where it is in the sky. The new moon is in harmony, forming a stabilizing trine to Saturn. Saturn is at 12 degrees of Pisces, a water sign. Scorpio, a water sign. So there's a lot of, and Saturn can have a lot to do with economics and government. And so the new moon is bringing a lot of stabilizing, grounding energies for all of us individually, but politically and economically. So I don't see whoever wins that it's going to really upset the world, where it will blow out the stock market, rioting in the world. Don't see that with the new moon in harmony with grounding, stabilizing, pragmatic Saturn. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto in contemporary astrology, because Pluto was discovered by telescope in 1930, and astrologers had always had Mars ruling Aries and Scorpio. So in 1930, I don't know how long it took, but astrologers then decided that Pluto, the newly found planet, because it rules the underworld and death and rebirth. And what was going on in 1930 was the rise of fascism. There was Great Depression going on in Germany. And in America, in 1929, we had that huge economic collapse. So it was a very dark period. And they also started working on, even in Germany, but especially in America, a nuclear bomb, researching atomic energy for destruction. And that's that dark Plutonian energies that came into our consciousness when Pluto came into our consciousness, when we discovered it by telescope. So the point is, now I'm looking at this chart with a Scorpio new moon, a lot of stabilizing energy, but Scorpio is, in contemporary astrology, is ruled by Pluto. But it's also, many astrologers still use the traditional method, rulership of Mars ruling Scorpio. Now, without getting too much into all this jargon, in this chart, Mars, warrior, ambitious, impatient, aggressive Mars, is at 29 degrees of Cancer. It's exact opposite, or in confrontation, to dark transformational Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn. So this Mars-Pluto for the world, you'll see how when I look at this chart adjusted for the United States, but not for, but just looking at it, how it just impacts the world, we're having the two rulers of Scorpio, Mars and Pluto. Mars can mean the warrior planet, anger, fighting, conflict. Pluto can represent all this manipulation and secrets and power struggles. So for some degree, this month being triggered with this new moon could trigger a great deal of emotional conflict, fighting, protesting. And of course, what happened 4 years ago in the United States, on January the 6th, when we had all that rioting to disrupt our election, it is possible, there's fear that could happen again. So here is the two rulers of Scorpio in opposition, confrontation. Mars is anger. Pluto is all that underworld dark energies. So there's going to be indicated a great deal of protesting and anger. But it's not going to take over the world. It's not going to be indicating a lot of destruction for two reasons. First of all, the new moon in Scorpio is excellent with stabilizing Saturn. So it's going to keep all that irrationality and anger that a lot of people will react to. But the Scorpio new moon is saying that energy is going to be grounded and stabilizing. That's one part. The other part is that Mars is at 29 degrees of Cancer, as I've said, forming a grand trine to communication Mercury at 28 degrees of Scorpio and to Neptune in Pisces at 27 degrees of Pisces. So the Mars is forming a grand trine when all the energy just flows very positively. But sometimes a grand trine can be a bit lazy because you just feel this is all going to work out. You don't need to really push anything. But because this grand trine that brings a lot of positive energies is going to be strongly activated because the Mars, part of the grand trine, is opposite Pluto. And that's going to bring it's going to change this intense conflict, but triggering the grand trine. So it's going to bring a lot of dynamic energy for positive change. Now, we're also going to have Venus is relationships and joy and contentment and happiness. Venus will also be on the day of the new moon in opposition to expansive, lucky, optimistic Jupiter. So that's telling me in this chart for November that there is going to be initially a lot of people going to be really angry, but it's all going to be tempered and resolved and contained. Then the Venus-Jupiter is about celebrating. It's about indulgent, drinking too much, spending too much. It's actually going to be good for the economy of the world because the new moon is excellent with Saturn, the economic planet, bringing a lot of economic financial stability. But then Venus is also outside of relationships and celebrating and romance. Venus is also a planet of finances, opposite with others to Jupiter, the planet of prosperity. So I do think that this chart it could very well indicate that the stock market should really increase in a very positive way. Now let's look at the chart, the new moon chart set for Washington, D.C. So that is where the overall energies and trends are impacting the United States of America. You'll see this, what looks like a kite configuration. That is one of the most rare and auspicious positive energies. But it's all directed to the apex planet, which is Mars, which is at the top of the chart. And the Mars opposite the Pluto, all that tension and conflict, but it's part of the grand trine and the new moon trining Saturn. So I'd be really surprised if any protesting and rioting got too much out of hand. But there's certainly going to be a lot of anger and rage that is being released with that Scorpio new moon in the 12th house of things that are hidden. In fact, the new moon in the 12th for the United States suggests a significant period for addressing hidden, underlying societal or governmental issues, possibly through secrets or behind the scenes effort. Now, Scorpio, traditional astrology ruled by Mars in opposition to Pluto. Now, the Mars is in the 9th, opposing powerful Pluto. There's a strong emphasis on ideological clashes and power struggles on a global scale, particularly involving foreign policies or national identities. The 9th house, where there's this confrontation and tensions, tells me that there's going to be a lot of lawsuits are going to be submitted to the courts. It could be that there's less rioting, hopefully, fingers crossed, and because the Mars-Pluto the Mars is in the 9th house, which is more legal actions, that maybe all the fighting and the rage could be directed towards the losing side, submitting all these legal actions. Now, but a lot will be revealed, or a lot could be going on behind the scenes, but it's all going to be stabilized by that Saturn and that kite configuration. Now, this will bring in a lot of harmony with this intense energy. So let's break it down. So Mercury is in Scorpio, right next to the ascendant for Washington, D.C. So there's going to be, with Mercury, a lot of news, a lot of discussion, no kidding. But the Mercury is part of the grand trine to set the stage. Mercury is trining Mars, and Mercury and Mars are trining Neptune, forming that grand trine. When Mercury is in dark Scorpio, and trining, just Mercury in Scorpio encourages deep, penetrating thoughts and conversation. Well, Neptune in Pisces heightens intuition, imagination, and a sense of spiritual connection. Mars in Cancer adds emotional drive and protective energy, pushing individuals to act on their feelings. The trines in the chart of the grand trine creates opportunities for harmonious action, but the opposition between Mars and Pluto warns of potential conflict or intense power struggles. Yet, it sets up a kite configuration with that grand trine, so there's more protective, positive energies, and back to that transformational new moon that could be revealing a lot of dark energies, but it's being stabilized by Saturn. And as there's all this stress and tension, but all this positive energies, so I think it's going to be more anger in the courts. There might be some protesting here and there, but overall I think it's all being stabilized and contained. And again, Venus is opposite Jupiter. And the thing you want to only be careful about is having too much fun, celebrating too much, drinking too much, eating too much, spending too much money, but you're going to be really enjoying yourself. I want to thank you for watching. If you'd like information on how to book an astrology reading or to check out my 2-question offer, visit my website at cardino.co. That's .co. Until next month, be safe and well.